स्वादयन्निह सर्वेषाम् त्रय्यन्तार्थम् सुदुर्ग्रहम् स्तोत्रयामास योगीन्द्रः तम् वन्दे यामुनाह्वयम्। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। नमो नमो यामुनाय यामुनाय नमो नमः। यत्पदाम्भोरुहध्यान विध्वस्ताशेषकल्मषः वस्तुतामुपयातोऽहम् यामुनेयम् नमामि तम्। स्वधर्मज्ञानवैराग्य साध्यभक्त्येकगोचरः नारायणः परम् ब्रह्म गीताशास्त्रे समीरितः। श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्ताम् सदा हृदि।
So, Lokarakshayai, what will be the meaning of the Lokarakshayai? What will be the significance? Now, there are two kinds of people. One is called Kritsna Vidaha and the other one is Akritsna Vidaha. Kritsna meaning Sarva, everything. Kritsna meaning Sarvam, all, everything inclusive. So Vidaha, people who know everything, Kritsna Vidaha. Now, know everything of what? Everything of the daily duties, Karma Yoga, and also of course Jnana Yoga and also Bhakti Yoga. All the three yogas, and including the of course Prapatti Yoga. They know everything about these four yogas: Karma, Jnana, Bhakti, and Prapatti Yoga. There are some people who do not know these four. There will be Akritsna Vidaha. They may know many things, but they may not know completely, fully. They don't understand fully what are these, why these four, how to do all these four and so on. So Akritsna Vidaha. But both of them are good people. They are devotees of God. They are not atheists. They are believers of Almighty. And therefore, Shishta Lokasya. Akritsna with, here it is singular. Akritsna Vidaha is singular here, Ekavachanam. And Kritsna Vidaha also is a singular word. It is in singular number. Though it looks like plural, also the plural word also is Kritsna Vidaha. Here both of them are singular words, meaning there are, generally you can say there is an individual who knows everything. There is an individual who does not know completely everything. So Kritsna is everything. Vid is to know. Then Akritsna Vidaha is, he has knowledge, lot of knowledge, but the knowledge is not complete. Now, the people, you can say in plural also. So there are people, the meaning can be in plural. The people who know what has been prescribed in Shastra as Anusthana. So Anuvidheya Anusthana. Anuvidheya meaning injunctions of the scriptures. Anuvidheya, first word. So Anuvidheya Anushthanasya. Of course, the world consists of many kinds of people, many varieties of people. There is also what we call bifurcation or rather division among the people. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasaha. Based on the characteristics, innate characteristics inborn qualities of the people, actions of those people. So guna karma vibhagashaha, there are 4 varnas, there are 4 stages of life, there are 4 divisions among the people. And all those people who know their own duties. Every varna has been prescribed with duties. So anuvidheya is, videyaha is, generally videyaha means obedient. Anuvidheyaha meaning one who follows. Anu means follow. So anuvidheyaha as a slave, one who follows. So anushtanasya, anushtanam is the rituals, daily duties. That's called anushtanam. Nityanushtanam, we call it daily duties. Then naimittika anushtanam is occasionally some duties are prescribed, like the rituals during eclipse, grahanam, and also what you call the sankramanam, the shifting of the zodiac from one to another. So here anushtanasya is duty. So anuvidheya anushtanasya, already it has been prescribed in the shastra. Shastra, the first shastra is scripture. So the people are aware, not only are aware, they know how to do it. So anuvidheya anushtanasya, what to do, when to do, and how to do. Everything they know. Then there are some people who do not know their own duties. Now that means they know others' duties very well. So swa anusthana anusandhanena. These people have the what you call knack of doing their own duties without knowing without understanding what is what. That is also one thing. So they do not know completely what is what, but they follow. They do the duties properly also, without knowing how to do it or without knowing deeply with it. So swa anusthana anusandhane. Swa, one's own. Anusthana, the practice, daily practice. And anusandhana is actually working on it. So doing it practically. You can also say anusandhanam is dhyanam also. You can think of doing it, but you may not do it. So swanusthana anusandhanena is, there is 2 types of shades of meaning. One is always doting upon, thinking upon what to do as their own duty, and one who actually does. Swanusthana anusandhanena, then that's why I said both of them are good people. Both of them are devotees. Both of them are sadhus. In Hindi, the word sadhu is mistaken to be a monk. But in Sanskrit, generally sadhu means a good man. A good person is called sadhu. In Tamil, he is considered as innocent person or sometimes ignorant also. That is very bad. When I say somebody is sadhu, that means he can be cheated. He is liable to be duped. So that is not the mistake. That is not the word here. So instead of sadhu, Swami Vedanta Deshika uses the word shishtaha. Shishtaha is what we said as paritranaya sadhunam. So paritranaya shishtanam, you can say. Shishtanam, good people. Good people in the sense they follow their duties. They do their duties properly. They love God. They believe in God. They have got 100% faith in God. And they are called good people. Shishta lokasya. The loka, the world. Now we are talking about loka rakshai in the word. The expression is loka rakshai. So the word loka meaning world The world contains good people and bad people, or good people, and among the good people, there are people who know what is their duty, what their duty is, and there are people who are not aware, but they follow scrupulously. And these are all, but there are people, bad people also there. Therefore, though the Lord has no partiality, He is always impartial. He doesn't differentiate between the good and the bad, but He gets angry with the bad and becomes happy with the good. So, Loka Raksha, the word Loka, Swami Vedanta Deshika is very specific in understanding the word Loka as Shishta Lokaha, a good world. One may say only Lord has created the bad world. No, I think already we discussed that the badness of the world is because of their own actions in the previous birth. And again, being good is only an anugraha, blessing from the God. If we are good, we are blessed by God. If we are bad, it is our own making. So Shishta Lokasya, so of the good world, of the world of good people, then what is to be done now? The word Rakshaya is given the next meaning of in the next expression, the long expression. So take the last word. Generally in Sanskrit, whether it is a verse, stanza, a poem, or even a prose sentence like this, we will have to come from behind, from the last word to the first word, so that it is very easy to understand. Otherwise, you can also go from left to right. But if you come from right to left, then the meaning will be easily understood. So the last word is arthaha that is the last word. It's not a long expression. Artha is a separate word. So this is the meaning of the Rakshayi. Loka already has been meant as Shishta Lokasya. Shishta Lokasya is the meaning of the word Loka. It is not simply world, universe, but a good universe. Universe consisting of only good people. So among the good people, again, there are two divisions. There are people who know everything, and there are people who know only a little. Of course, they have a large knowledge, large amount of knowledge, but they are not aware of it completely. Now the last word is arthaha, the meaning. The meaning of the word rakshayai. So rakshayai, please note in grammar, it is in what we call dative case. It's called Chaturthi Vibhakti. So for the protection, rakshayai, for saving, F-O-R. So for the sake of extending safety to the Lord, to the world, the Raksha. Raksha is in Strilinga gender, not what we call feminine gender, and therefore it is Rakshayai is there in Chaturthi Vibhakti in the dative case. Nangam Vetrame, as we say in Tamil. Now, so what did he do, or what does the Lord do with the world? Now, pravartana artham iti arthaha. The world should go on. The world should go on and on. The world should progress, should improve. So that is what we call pravartana. It cannot be low. The world cannot be idle. The world cannot go on remaining bad. That's what we are now saying about Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, the black era in which we live, is supposed to contain a lot of negative things, troubles, problems, and so on. But here, the world cannot go on like this with bad people inside and only bad people inside, and they will create chaos, violence, and all sorts of problems for the society. But here, pravartanartham is to make them make the world progress, go up. So go up in the sense. Now, what will be the path of the world? Now, it should have nishpramada, number one, luntaka, number two. Then rahita means without. Rahita means without. There should be nishpramada and there should be no luntaka. Then rahita, then ghantapatha. So we say in Sanskrit, ghantapatha meaning ghoshita patham, meaning a popular, ideal path. Ghantapatha is you have heard in USA the ambulance, maybe in all countries, and the firefighting squad, the firefighting engines, the firefighting lorries will have the bell ringing when they travel, when they move. So the bell will be ringing. That will be giving a warning. So Ghanta is bell. Ghanta Patha is the right road, should be called right road. Ghanta Patha. Ghanta is of course bell, ringing road. You can also say ring road, as we say, use it now in the road system. The ring road is there. You have to choose that particular ring road to reach your destination. Ghantapatha is the bell road, yeah. So it's a ring road. So Ghantapatha meaning the right path, the best path. Perhaps Swami Vedanta Deshika, he is reminded of his birth from Ghanta. He is called Ghanta Avatar. Ghanta is there. Ghanta means the bell. The bell in the Tirupati temple is absent today in the Sanctum Sanctorum. They are not using the bell inside the Sanctum Sanctorum. In almost all the temples of Lord Vishnu, Sriman Narayana, the temple, the bells are used. Especially in Kannacharya Sampradaya, the bell is not used. Maybe because of their difference from the concept of Sri Deshika Sampradaya. Therefore, they have avoided the bells. I don't know whether it is true or not. But Ghanta Patha is path. So Ghanta Patha is the bell path in the sense, the right path, the best road and path, the best way method. So the loka, the world, the universe should go on the right path, and therefore it is being protected by the Lord. Best or main way. Okay. So Loka Rakshayi, Lord Sriman Narayana, or say here it is Lord Krishna in the Avatara, because he is also doing what we call Dharma Samsthapanartham. So that is the third purpose that we saw. Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya. So in order to re-establish, we don't say establish, re-establish dharma, and in the right way of the world should go on the right way. So that should be taken. The world must be led to that road. Who will be the guide? Lord Sriman Narayana. So Ghanta Patha, then the road should be safe. If it is the right path can have even obstacles. Why a right path can have obstacles? There are people like demons to come and disturb the world, to make us go away, stray away from the right path, swerve from the right way. Why do they do it? Again, they have their own purpose as envisaged by the Lord in His sportful creation. It's a game of the creation game where I think I've told you already there are 33 crores of God. So there are 33 crores of God, but there are 66 crores of demons. Double the number. Why double the number of bad people? Because otherwise what happens is the good people are have the slackening attitude. They don't think of the Almighty. They think that they are high level living beings more than the human beings. They have pride, they have haughtiness, insolence, and they will be autocratic in activities. And therefore, in order to bring down their pride, there are double the number of enemies. And therefore, so here the path should be without, Rahita without. There are two, as Keshavdas Swami rightly put it, Nishpramada. Pramada in Sanskrit as well as in Telugu, it means catastrophe. It's a danger. It's a what you call trouble that. So here it is also as he said, carelessness. Pramada is what we do in pronunciation of the letters, and also that is what you call overlooking. Pramada will be overlooking. And luntaka will be snatching away, robbing. Luntanam is robbing. So Nishpramada and luntaka, these two aspects of rowdyism, or you can say violence. So both of them should be not there. So Nishpramada is, as we understand, carelessness. Pramada is carelessness. Nishpramada will be carefulness. And then luntaka is cheating or neglect. Nishpramada also means neglect. So luntaka will be prataranam, we say in Sanskrit. Prataranam, duping someone. So the world as a cluster should not try to dupe, should not try to cheat. Yes, cheating. It's like, it is LOOT, but LUNTA. Of course, it should be, I think it should be the hard consonant, second letter, ta. Kathora Vyanjanam must be there. I think, let us see. I should not correct it immediately. Luntaka is not luntaka, the first letter. It should be, let us check it up with some other book. That will be LOOT, looting, cheating, duping, and robbing.
Yeah. In the dictionary,
robbery.
In the dictionary,
Yeah.
it can be, in the dictionary I'm looking, it can be
Both.
as Mahaprana or Alpaprana. This ta.
Oh, it can
Ta.
either Mahaprana or Alpaprana. Okay. So Nishpramada luntaka will be, the Nish will join with the luntaka. Please remember that. So Nishpramada and Nish luntaka. Or you can say Nishpramada and luntaka rahita. So Nishpramada one set and luntaka rahita. So Nishpramada doesn't need the word rahita. Luntaka, because it is a bad activity. So rahita is very important. So rahita is without. Nishpramada luntaka rahita. So a path sans carelessness and cheating. The carelessness is in doing the duty, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga plus prapatti yoga. we are not careful, therefore pramada sets in. Calamity, pramada means calamity both in Telugu and Sanskrit. So the calamity sets in. And nishpramada is no calamity. And then luntaka, as we said, cheating. We must not cheat ourselves. We must not cheat each other. There are two types of cheating: self-cheating and cheating others. Self-cheating is I cheat myself by not doing the duty properly, thinking that nobody will observe what I do. God is there everywhere to observe what all people are doing in the creation. So that is again LOOT, looting or looting others' property, coveting others' treasure and so on. So luntaka, rahita, that will be ghantapata. The ghantapata is a road in which you can go without fear. When the bell is ringing, the bell is giving a warning, then everybody is very careful. When the bell is silent, we cannot, will not be careful. We'll be careless and there is no bell ring. So, Gantapata Pravartanartham Ityartha. Now, so what is the word loka again? So, etena, so the total meaning of this lokarakshayi, starting with the anuvidheya anushthanasya krishna vidaha swanusthana anusandhanena akrishna vidaha sishtalokasya nishpramada luntaka rahita ghantapata pravartana artham is etena loka sangraha shabdaha vyakhyataha. Vyakhyataha, this has been explained. Etena, by this lokarakshayi, the word loka sangraha shabdaha is what we call consolidation of the purpose or the fruits of the world, fruits of the creation. The Lord takes pity on the creation. The Lord becomes happy on the good people. The Lord becomes angry over the bad people. And he makes a combination of both, in the sense he makes the world united. Sangraha here is what we call putting together, putting all the pieces together to make one world. So Loka Sangraha. So the whole world must be similar in activity in every region. So all should be dharmavan, people of righteousness. That is what he wants to establish, and therefore he wants to save the world from catastrophe, save the world from danger, and he is very sympathetic towards the creation, and therefore he is trying to now, he is doing what we call Loka Sangraha, meaning bringing together the unity in the world. So that is called Loka Sangraha, welfare of the world. Yes. The unity also gives us the welfare of the world. He is interested in making the world full of welfare, the safety. So the safety of the world is very important till the dissolution. Therefore, he helps a lot the creation. So that will be the single word explanation for Loka Rakshayai. And look at the 7th verse for starting with Asaktya. So Asaktya Loka Rakshayai. So Asaktya will be without attachment, Loka Rakshayai. That is the first quarter has been explained that. Then we go to Guneshu Aropya Kartratam. Then again, there are two aspects of the Lord's attitude toward the creation. Number one, he is aloof when the people do bad activities. Then again, he is very much close or attached in the matter of extending protection to the world. So it can be two shades of meaning of asakya. That means he has no attachment to the world in a larger sense. At the same time, he is very much interested in protecting the world. That will be the beautiful meaning of the first quarter of the 7th verse.
Discussing this word loka rakshai, loka raksha, loka rakshai,
That's all.
chaturthi vibhakti, but ekavachanam. So this kritsna vida and akritsna vida. So I'm just trying to understand it. So there are people, the people who are kritsna vida are the people who understand their duties. So there, you described about the 4 varnas, that the duties are according to varna. Is it correct? The duties are according to varna and ashrama.
Yes.
So there are some people who understand what those duties are, and some people who don't understand what those duties are. The akritsna vida people, the people who don't fully understand their duties, right? They are following sistachara. They are following the whatever they think is the example of good people.
Yeah, both of them are good people.
Okay, so both of them are good people. All right, and both of them are good people, but some of them
believers in God, they have faith in God, but they are ignorant of some aspects of these yogas.
Okay, so we can say definitely people within the Varnashrama system, people in India who know about the caste system, about the Varna system and Ashrama system, they might also be a little bit ignorant, but in general, because they're part of that system, they know something about it. People outside, foreign people, don't know anything about this system. They don't know anything about the rules and regulations and the duties for the different Varnashram system. So those people are not good people because they don't know anything. Is that correct?
No, that is what we say. They do not know completely, but they know a lot. There's a difference between people who are ignorant of their duty. They are not completely ignorant of their duty. They know many things, many aspects of their duty, but they don't know. They don't have 100% perfection.
Okay, so so for instance, in every country, in every place in the world, we have intellectuals, we have administrators, we have business people, and we have ordinary workers, corresponding to the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras of the Varnashram system. But in the other countries, the exact nature of the duties and responsibilities of each of these category of person is not understood according to the way it is understood in the classical Varnashram system in India. So they know something. So like in other countries, they're intellectuals and they teach, but they don't understand they don't have a full understanding of how they should act or how they should teach in the sense, in the Varnashram sense. So I'm just trying to understand.
Now, to answer your question, though this is a Varnashrama is understood in India differently, and how to apply those divisions in other countries. This is the position now in India also. Everywhere today, we have a mix up. Brahmana is doing vyapara, doing business. So he belongs to the business class, though he is born a Brahmin. The second, the royal family, the Kshatriya. So now in India, it is enough if you are 35 and above in age. You can rule the country. There is no qualification needed. No Jnana Yoga needed. You don't need not have a degree from any college or university. One can become a politician. That politician can become a ruler, chief minister or prime minister or minister. He can be as the member of the cabinet. Now, so that means the ancient system of the Kshatriyas is not available now. We have very rare instance of the clan, the successes of those royal families. Today we can see one or two, rarely in many regions. So here, so what I mean to say is, there is no strict difference between the Kshatriya and Brahmana, Vaishya and Shudra. So Vaishya, the business class, now today is highly qualified. They have a lot of Jnana Yoga in the sense they have studied well, they have come to teaching. So I won't say as the ancient system expects us to do, Adhyayanam, Adhyapanam, but the teaching of the scriptures and learning of the scriptures. So that is not the duty of, that was the duty of every Brahmin. But Kshatriyas, though they can be initiated, they cannot recite, they cannot chant the scriptures. So these two, Vaishyas and Kshatriya. And therefore today all the duties have been exchanged. And sometimes the Brahmin serves the Shudra. The Shudra is the boss and the Brahmin is the subordinate. And therefore in an office, the Brahmin has to serve the subordinate. Has to serve the Shudra. So that doesn't mean Shudra is always for service to all the other three Varnas. Now let us not take the ashramas because there is no vanaprastha as such really who will go to the forest and lead a secluded life. Now then there are only brahmacharis, grihasthas and sannyasis. We have not seen people like vanaprasthas. Maybe there are many. Again, the brahmachari is misunderstood to be a bachelor, and then of course grihastha is a married householder. And lastly, sannyasi is a recluse, one who has denounced all the possessions of this world. Now, so there is again, when you come to each of the class, we have unmarried bachelor, you can say, or a bachelor like a married man. And therefore, the word bachelor or the brahmachari refers only to the thought of God 24/7. That is what we call brahmachari. Brahma acharati iti brahmachari. So there is no strict difference between a brahmachari and a grihastha. A grihastha, as I said earlier, is also to meditate upon God the maximum time possible of his life. So here, now we have exchanged our portfolios, jobs, with regard to varnas. So also it happens in other countries, there is no division. Then anybody can do anything. It is not based on all other countries. You cannot say by birth one belongs to a particular caste and so on. So therefore, there is no division. One must rule the country, President of United States. That family cannot become a royal family or so on. So anybody who stands in election and wins in election can become the ruler. Therefore, there's no specific duty prescribed as in scriptures for those who are like this in foreign countries. Therefore, here the only deviation can be, or rather common quality can be, the general rules applicable to all the people in the world. For example, speaking the truth. So speaking the truth will be a duty of all the varnas and all the ashramas. There is no deviation. So not that Kshatriya can tell a lie and Brahmin can always talk falsehood. So nothing. So there are some common dharmas, samanya dharma, ordinary common ways of life, good ways of good life, and that should be followed by all, irrespective of their births. And that is in this situation. Now you cannot say this duty has been prescribed for this varna, because there is no varna as such. We have different castes in each sampradaya here. For example, Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, we have got 4 subdivisions. Number 1, Swayam Acharya. In the family, the eldest one who is qualified can do Samasrayanam for the family. That is Swayam Acharya. Then you have Ahobila Mat. Then you have Srirangam Srimad Andavan Mat. Then again Poundarikam Andavan Mat in Vadagalai Sampradaya. Just in Vadagalai Sampradaya, Deshika Sampradaya, we got 4. Then again in this 4 Vadagalai Sampradaya, one says we belong to Munitraya. As though other what we call Ahobala Mata Sampradaya does not follow Munitraya. Munitraya is 3 sages, namely Natha Muni, Yamunacharya, and Ramanujacharya. They have different habits, different rituals, different ways of doing the ritual. Here, so again, why I say there is a lot of subdivisions also. For example, take an Advaiti. There are 4 castes under Advaiti. What we call, one is called Vadama, the second is called Vatima, third is called Brihacharanam, big feet, Brihacharanam. Then last will be Ashtasakasra. So again in Brihacharanam, there are divisions according to the language that they speak. Because of the native language of the mother tongue, there is always a difference in caste. So the caste system in India is very vast. It has thousands and thousands of castes. And therefore, we cannot now distinguish between, again, among the castes, who will be better. Among the castes of the same varna, namely Brahmin, Brahmana, and Kshatriya. Kshatriya has got one type called Kevar in Madurai. They are violent people. They are what you call dominant people. Kevar in Madurai. They are not equal to Deva. They are not Deva God. They are very violent. So, on the sense, these divisions are now not there. The divisions are already ironed. So, in this case, the mention of the Varnashrama duties as known by people, this is the reference to the people of Dwapara Yuga when Lord Krishna was with Arjuna, and where there was a clear distinction between, among the Varnas and among the Ashramas. Today, they may not be strictly applicable.
When you say that there are many castes, I think you mean jatis, because normally we understand that there are only Chaturvarnam, there are only 4 Varnas, and indeed in Manu Samhita he says there are only 4 and not more than 4. Varnas.
The Panchama is there. The Harijan, Dalit, that is also there.
But
Panchama.
is there any
Untouchable
Shastra
associates
Pramana
called
for
untouchable.
Panchama? Is there a Shastra Pramana for Panchama? Because Manu clearly says there's only 4. There's not
But
5.
later on, some Apastamba Sutras may say about Panchama.
Okay. So
There are 5 Varnas actually.
but
So,
we see that
I mean to say, in foreign countries, there is no such division called Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra.
No, not specifically, but it depends upon your definition of these words. If you take Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra to mean intellectual, administrator, business class, working class, if you take it to mean that, then that's there in every society. So, for instance, in the Ramayana, Rama met with the Vanaras. And these Vanaras, some people call them monkeys, but maybe they were a type of human being also. They were they appeared to be monkeys in the Shastra, but they were a type of human being. They could speak. They had a society. They had a king. They had ministers. They did things like human society. So these people, these Vanaras, they also had a type of society. They had Varnas because they had a king, they had a minister, so they made a distinction also between the king and the minister.
And that's why I said the portfolios, the diversification of the departments, the departments of action. So do you have any hierarchy that you belong to a higher caste and I belong to a lower caste in other countries?
There used to be. It used to be like this in Europe, in medieval Europe, in other parts of Asia. There was indeed a class system, even somewhat still there in some places in Europe, in England and in other places. But it's not as strictly defined as in India. But so the question really comes that in order to understand what our duty is, now we're talking about duties based upon the body, what our nature, the nature of our body, not the duty of the soul, not the duty of the Atma. So there's a difference. There's a spiritual duty, completely spiritual duty, and then there's a duty in a social duty. So the question is whether Krishna, when he takes his avatar, when the Supreme Lord comes, he establishes dharma samstapana, but that dharma does he want to establish social duties for people, or does he want to only establish completely spiritual duties which are completely separate from these social duties?
Now the Shastra, according to our Vaishnava Sampradaya, says that the division is always there of Varna and Ashrama as long as the life is in the body. The body is born from the mother. The body comes out of the mother. The family, as you say, whether Brahmana, Kshatriya, etc., the body belongs to the jati, as you said, jati, or varna. You can say jati, of course, subdivision of varna. So varna. So when a person is born in the royal family, this body remains Kshatriya till the end of life. And whether he is a prapanna or a bhakti yogin, whether he practices bhakti perfectly or if he is a prapanna, a total surrenderee, his jati doesn't change. His varna doesn't change. His varna doesn't change. The problem is, why there is a problem is, the other sampradaya people say that once one becomes a devotee of God, he becomes a Brahmin. but that is not the right interpretation. He must be respected as a Brahmin would be respected. The status, the high status should be given, or privilege should be shown. That is according to Manusmriti. You find that punishment, and the punishments are meted out to people. Then there is a mistake committed by the higher caste, higher varna, higher varna. There is less punishment according to Manusmriti. That's what now today other people are opposing. How can there be partiality towards one varna and more worse punishment into somebody else? Now, if the crime is the same, the crime is the same. Now, here, so I told you the Kshatriya, or Kshatriya or Vaishya or any varna for that matter, the body remains throughout the life the same thing. One is not shifted from lower status, so-called lower status, to higher status. The word Brahmin, Brahmanaha, will be, of course, literally translated as a spiritual being. It is not doesn't show the varna in there. When a man is spiritual, highly devoted to God, you call him a Brahmin. Therefore, you deserve respect. That doesn't mean others deserve disrespect. You deserve high respect. If you are a devotee of God, you deserve high respect. That is the contention. The Shastra says that the jati never lives as long as there is body. There is no, as you said, there is no connection to the soul whatsoever on the duties of the varna and ashrama. I said Krishna Vidaha includes all these four varnas and ashramas because the system was in complete vogue during Krishna's time. That is why I said the word. You need not take it very seriously, saying that anuvidheyasya anushthanasya va swa anushthana anusandhanena. Either you take the following the duty by following the scriptures, or one as he knows only certain duties of his own self, but not completely. Akratsna vidaha. There we are swa anusthana anusandhanena. Rather thinking and doing one's own duty, not so perfectly, but to a maximum extent possible. Say 99%, you can put it as 99%. Only 1% they may have deviation. That's why they are called Akritsna Vida. But they are Shishta. But they are good people. But they are not unfaithful towards Lord. They all have complete devotion towards the Lord. Only thing is, the Jnana Yoga, they have not practiced well. That is Karma Yoga, they are good at it. They are good at Karma Yoga. That is so the Loka, the universe consists of many varieties of people. But Lord wants to protect only those worlds with good people. He wants to destroy the people, the bad people of the world. Vinashayecha dushkrita. Dharmasya glanir bhavati cheta, when there is a let down of dharma, righteousness. Abhyutthanam adharmasya. He has to remove unrighteousness.
So again, I'm trying to understand. The Lord wants to protect those persons who are good, and He wants to destroy those people who are bad. He wants to establish dharma, principles of religion. So the definition of somebody who is good seems to be a person who follows his dharma, who follows his varnashram dharma.
Yeah. Understands more the scriptures.
But
The injunctions are
yeah, there's two levels in the scripture though. There's the social aspect of Varnashrama, and then there's for instance, in the Gita, it talks about Chaturvarna Maya Shrishtam, but it also talks about Pandita Samadarshanaha. So
no. When you have an observation at others, you don't make a difference whether it is Shunicha, Shopakecha, Brahmani,
Gavi
Gavi
Hasmini.
Hasti. Yeah. So whether you look at a Brahmin or a cow or an elephant or an outcast or a dog, there your mental disposition is same. Observation of others is same, but doesn't mean all of us are same. All these categories are one and the same. One is an animal, one is one who is a cannibal, the other one is a Shwapakaha, is cannibal, one who eats the flesh of the human being.
right, but but a person who's a cannibal, if he's born in a cannibal tribe, isn't his dharma to be a cannibal?
He is born a cannibal. He cannot do anything else. His food, staple food is flesh of the human being.
No, but it's
He cannot change himself. He cannot change himself.
just like there are people there, the people in the northern countries in Alaska, they're Eskimo people. They eat only meat.
Yeah.
They live there. There's no vegetable. There's only meat. There's only some fishes and things. They have to catch them and eat them. So those people, that is their dharma, no? Is that their dharma?
Yeah. Do they leave their habits at any time?
They cannot leave the habits because of the place they live. There's nothing else.
In Bali, when I went to the island Bali, when we both, the problem was vegetarian availability of vegetarian food. We wanted to take some frams, and the shopwala said, "This is costlier and this is less costly." And I asked why, because he said this contains fish. The frams, that what we do, fry in the oil and take it as a snack. So he pointed out some are not non-vegetarian, some are containing the fish essence or so. Why is it? Yes, many people take non-vegetarian food. That is their habit. Now,
right, but my question is, if somebody is born in a family which is non-vegetarian, or they're following that way of living, is it not their dharma? That's their dharma.
When he comes to when one born in that non-vegetarian family comes to the knowledge that an animal should not be killed, a cow or a goat or should not be killed, then it's only violence. Then when he realizes that, he will give up the non-vegetarian food. Then he becomes a shishta.
Right.
Shishta
so we take. Yeah. So we're saying that there are certain actions. There are certain actions which make him good person, and other actions make him not a good person. But if the society is not, if he's born in a particular place and he's doing a particular thing, and it's natural for him to be like that because of the body, because of his jati, like that, then how can we say that he's a bad person if he's eating meat, or if he's doing something which is against the dharma of some other group? The dharma of Brahmins, the dharma is even Kshatriyas, right? Kshatriyas, maybe sometimes they kill an animal, no?
Yeah.
So Kshatriya kills an animal. I don't know if
No,
Kshatriyas.
I'll give you one example. In my personal experience, uh, there are some, we call them, because of the British bad administration, or rather uh, dividing policy in India. They categorized all the people by just two divisions, Brahmins and non-Brahmins. They brought this term non-Brahmin and made them hate the others, the other. And there was always unity among the people of India. But they divided and ruled for 200 years. And then they call them non-Brahmins. So when I say non-Brahmin, about 20 non-Brahmins were ready to read or study Bhagavad Vishayam from me. And I said, I can guide them, but the distance matters. And they are all very much interested in knowing what is Bhagavad Vishayam. Bhagavad Vishayam, as you know, Nammalvar Thiruvaimozhi's explanation in elaboration. So a very highly detailed commentary on the Thiruvaimozhi of Nammalvar. And therefore, what I want to say is, the knowledge that they want to gain will make them better. They will be better devotees of God when they understand. Though, as you said, they will be taking non-vegetarian food at home, and they will slowly change themselves. And today, not only because of the high price, but because of their awareness that there are health problems leading them immediately because of the non-vegetarian food. Many have avoided non-vegetarian food because of the medical science awareness. The non-vegetarian people have given up the non-vegetarian food. So that is also one indication that they are all they avoid violence. They avoid violence. The Islam religion, I have heard from an elderly person. They say a bird, for example, what is called a hen or a cock, should be, its head should be cut off with a very sharp knife, and within a split second, within 1 second, the head should be cut off, so that the hen or the animal or the bird doesn't experience pain for a long time. So that is what we call non-violence for them. If you have a very blunt knife, it's very difficult to cut the head of the goat, and that will make it suffer.
Okay, I really didn't want to get into only a discussion of food habits, not vegetarian or not vegetarian. I wanted to speak of a general understanding of Dharma, that Krishna comes in the Gita and he is trying to establish Dharma. But you are saying that Dharma for different people is different. That for different jatis, for different varnas, there's different dharmas. But then you say even the people who are born in a low jati, sometimes after they get more knowledge, they will adopt some activities of a different jati or a different varna. For the foreigners, some foreigners are non-vegetarians. Okay, they're born like that, and after getting knowledge, they think, oh, it is good to avoid the killing of the animals, right? And therefore they give up eating the meat, because in order to eat meat, you have to kill the animal. But even in the classical Varnashram system in India, the Kshatriyas are killing the animal, and that is considered Varna. And in the Gita, Krishna not only says to kill the animal, he tells Arjuna to kill people, not animals, to kill people. and not only people, but his relatives, his friends, his teachers. So how can this be Dharma?
That is the order of those days. That is the order of those days.
Okay,
Today-
so
today-
wait a minute. You said it's the honor of those days. So you're saying that the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are only meant for Dwapara Yuga? They're only meant for older days?
The Kshatriya Dharma is specifically waging a war. Then do you now deny that the countries today, especially some powerful countries fighting with others, interfering the administration of other countries, and sending the armies to the other countries, spoiling the peacefulness of the other countries? Now, how do you account for it? These are all some rather unnecessary deviations by the country's ruling party.
Why
One-
you say
one
why,
country-
no? Why do you say it's unnecessary? Why do you say it's unnecessary? If the United States feels that it has to go to Afghanistan or Iraq and create a big war because they feel like they feel that is Dharma for them. Just like Arjuna was killing
they
in the Kurukshetra.
depend on those countries for oil. So they want to have domination. The God has given oil resources to one country, and the other countries depend on those countries. The dependencies are there.
No, but excuse me. But the reason for attacking Iraq and Afghanistan and these things is Afghanistan has no oil, by the way. And the United States, that is the longest war the United States has ever been in, Afghanistan. And the reason for going to Afghanistan was to avenge some attack by some people on the United States. It doesn't have anything to do with oil. Iraq may have to do with oil, but this Afghanistan has nothing to do with oil. They have gone to take a revenge, because they feel that it is their dharma to take the revenge for something that happened to them. So
that's why I
isn't
said
that dharmic? Is it not dharmic? Is it not dharmic if innocent people are killed? If I am a Kshatriya and innocent people under my protection are being killed, should I not attack the enemy? Is that not my dharma?
Tit for tat, that being done. The revengeful attitude is also Kshatriya's quality.
The Pandavas were denied. The Pandavas were denied even a village each, even a speck of land. They were denied. And they fought a huge war, killing millions of people, because they couldn't have a village, because they were denied the right to rule a village. So if people are, if an administrator is supposed to look over the Loka Sangraha, the welfare of his people, and those people are attacked, he has to take revenge on the other person. That's his dharma. So is this not also dharma? It's dharma.
That's why I said fighting in the case of Arjuna is right, or it is his right to do that. What you call adhikara to do it in those days. Now today, within the one country, people fight with each other based upon varna, based upon caste, based upon ashrama. There are a lot of politics in ashrama. Between two ashramas, there is so much envy, enmity, and so on. All this happens. Now, the welfare of the world will depend upon the mutual unity and amicability among the people, and that's what of course Krishna wants to establish.
Right. So Krishna wants to, but I'm trying to understand the message of the Gita is that Krishna wants to establish righteousness in a general sense, or does he specifically want to establish the righteousness in terms of Varnashrama, the social system that was there at the time of Arjuna. Does he want to establish that? Should that be established?
He is more interested in establishing this sadharana dharma, the common dharma.
Common dharma. So not specifically the details of the jati and varna classical system of social understanding that is there in India.
Right.
Okay, good.
So through the story of Arjuna, through the incidents of the Mahabharata, we have to understand, according to the present situation, what will be the best way of approach.
So okay, so the only other question that I had was this this idea about the bell. You said that in Tirupati temple they don't use a bell inside the temple. No. But Tirupati temple is not a Tengalai temple. It's a Vaikunasan temple, and the archakas wear Wadagalai Namam, so they're I don't know if they're actually Wadagalais. Vaikunasans may be separate system, a completely separate system.
Vaikunasa can be both.
They can be both, yeah. So, but we do know that in the house puja, in the puja in the house, the Tenacharyas, they're not using the handbell. And I don't know why that is. I don't think it's because of any enmity towards Vedanta Deshika, because we find Tenacharyas praising Vedanta Deshika also. But in the temple, the Tenacharya Sampradaya, people are using bell. So I don't understand why in Tirupati they may not be using a bell. Maybe it has something to do with the Vaikunasa system there.
Right. It's only an indication of the birth of the incarnation of Swami Vedanta Deshika. He is called the Bell Incarnation.
Yeah, I know he's called Bell Incarnation, but has anybody from the Tirupati Devasthanam ever said the reason they don't use the bell is because Vedanta Deshika is supposed to be Ganta avatar? He's supposed to be the avatar of the Ganta?
We have to ask some people know. And again, I think we can get the doubt cleared from Dr. M.A. Alvar why the Tenacharya Sampradaya people do not use the bell at home.
We will ask him. We will ask him. Okay, very good. So if so we don't really know the answer to this.
Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha.